Jane Eyre, a young orphan, has been left in the care of her uncle and aunt at Gateshead Hall. After her uncle's death, his wife, Mrs. Reed, and their three children bully and look down on Jane. One of the children, John, injures Jane, who fights back. She is playing for the fights, and Mrs. Reed has two servants lock her in the Red Room, where Mr. Reed had died. During the night, Jane is frightened by the light, which she thinks is her uncle's ghost. Then Jane loses consciousness. When Jane wakes up, it's already 2020.
Ouch! My head is so hurt. What's wrong with me? What? It's 2020? Oh my god!
Jane is scared. She runs away. Now Jane has no money. She has to sell things on the road to make a living. Life is very hard on Jane. People don't help Jane. They look down on her and say bad things to her. Jane has to sleep on the road and she doesn't have enough money to buy food. She is starving. She is very miserable. One day, Jane meets Mr. Rochester while he is passing by.
Mister, would you like to buy something? I have a lot of useful things here. I need some money to get some food. I'm so starving. Can you help me?
Girl, would you like to be my servant? You look so beautiful and nice. You would become a good servant.
Thank you, mister. I appreciate that. I will try my best and not let you down.
Then Jane arrives at Thornfield Manor. Another servant looks down on Jane and bullies Jane. Jane is upset. She decides to leave the house. Mr. Rochester decides to look for Jane, but she is nowhere to be found.
Oh, Jane, where are you now? I need to find you. Please come back.
Jane meets John, a successful businessman. John sees the potential in Jane and asks Jane to become one of his co-workers. Now Jane has a job. She is hardworking and she usually receives praises. Later, she receives a contract and becomes rich. 5 years later, Jane meets Mr. Rochester again.
Mr. Rochester?
Jane, why are you here? I found you everywhere. And you're still beautiful. You have become successful?
I mean, you look still so elegant. You must not have remembered me.
Oh, Jane, I love you. I found you everywhere, but you were nowhere to be found.
Jane and Mr. Rochester live together happily ever after. Jane Eyre is an extraordinary mixture of an imaginative vision and deeply felt experience. It's a combination of intensified feelings with a belief that an intelligent woman whose only drawback is poverty has as much right to express herself as an independent woman and show her true feelings to a wealthy man.